Hey everyone, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2018 Audi S5. I want to walk through how to install the Stealth Hitch hidden rack receiver. This is what our hitch is going to look like when it's installed. As you can see, we can't see anything. Everything is hidden behind the fascia. We're going to have a small block down here on the bottom that allows us to use the receiver when we're ready to use it, and then take it out when we're not. This is only going to be designed for your bike racks and cargo carriers. It's not designed for towing. There is a towing kit available that you can find here at eTrailer. It's going to come with the wiring, it's going to come with the ball and ball mount, and it's also going to come with the safety chains. There is a full kit available that comes with everything needed. Take the fascia off one time, trim one time, have everything installed, including your wiring, and you're ready to go for anything that you need to. This is going to give us a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, so it's going to accommodate a lot of different accessories. Hitch pin hole is going to be 5/8 inch in diameter. It's going to take a standard 5/8 hitch pin and clip. The pin and clip do not come with this hitch, however they can be found here at eTrailer. Black powder coat finish, steel construction. It's going to hold up really well. As I mentioned, when we're not using it, we can easily remove it, and it maintains a nice factory look. Nobody knows that we have a receiver on the back of the vehicle. Another nice thing about this, when we're not hauling a bike rack, we're going to have a rubber cap. Slide that right into place, and it keeps anything from getting inside that hole. We're also going to have a lock. So when we add a receiver, we can push the lock in, and somebody can't come up and just remove it. It is going to come with 2 sets of keys. When you get this, when you're installing it, this block right here will have this cap on it. The keys will be up inside of it. To get it out, once it's unlocked, there's a handle right here. We're going to take it and turn it towards the front of the vehicle. Now, this is actually the first time that I've installed this hitch on this vehicle. Installation process is really not that difficult. It's not going to require any specialty tools except a torque wrench and maybe a cutting tool. There is wiring that is up here in this corner. The fascia does have to be removed. The wiring in this corner cannot be disconnected, so you need to make sure you have a table or a rack, so that when you take the fascia off, you can set it on that rack without disconnecting it. If that comes disconnected, the car has to go back to the manufacturer and it has to get reprogrammed. It is going to require trimming, that you can see here. With this receiver, we're going to have a 350-pound max tongue weight, which is a downward pressure on the inside of the receiver tube. So when you're loading up the cargo carrier or bike rack, you want to make sure you're not exceeding that. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost part of our fascia, which is going to be here, we're looking at about 2 inches. That number is important for those cargo carriers and bike racks that fold up. We want to make sure they're not going to make contact. From the ground to the top innermost part of our receiver tube, we're looking at about 10.5 inches. Keep that number in mind for any other hitch mount accessories that may require a little bit more ground clearance. A nice accessory that you can add with your Stealth Hitch receiver is a carrying case. It's going to be a very durable case. It's going to have a nice cover on it, very durable, double zipper. As you can see, it's going to store the receiver inside. Nice thick foam padding, so if you happen to set something on top of it, it's not going to smash it down. It's also going to come with a keychain to hold your keys so they don't get lost. Makes it very easy to store this when you're not using it. Now, if you went with a tow package kit, there is another case available here at eTrailer that's going to hold everything that comes with it. Your ball mount, your receiver, also keychain for your keys. Made out of the same material. It's going to have a nice durable foam pad on the inside, so it makes it very rigid. If something's set on top of it, it's not going to smash down flat. It's going to have a nice large pouch here, so if you want to put some gloves or something like that inside, you can keep everything contained in one spot. Start your installation. We're going to open our trunk. We're going to come to this little panel on the inside of our tail light. We're going to take a plastic pry tool. We're going to start right here at the top, and we're going to work our way pulling out as you go along the light. and then we'll set that aside. We'll take a T25 Torx bit. We're going to remove these 2 screws. And we're going to take our light and we're going to pull straight out. If you find that it's not coming loose up here, you take that pry tool, kind of get it right in the back side here. That will help pop it loose. On the inner side, we're going to disconnect the wiring, push down on the green tab, and we'll slide it out. Right in this corner, we're going to have a small pin. We need to pry this up. And we're going to slide it all the way out. We're going to repeat that process on the other side of the vehicle. Remove all your floor coverings, grab a 10mm socket. We're going to come to our threshold. We're just going to pull up on it. Start at one end. And we're going to work our way across to the other side. We'll set that aside. Once you have your threshold removed, 10mm socket, put a short extension on it. And on the inside, this panel, on our passenger side and driver's side, we're going to remove the panel simply by turning the little knob. We're going to pop this out. On our driver's side, it's just a panel. Passenger side, we need to remove this plug. Right on the other side of it, you're going to push that little tab. And we'll set this aside. On the inside, right at the back, we're going to have another 10mm nut we need to remove on each side of the vehicle. Right on the inside of the wheel well liner, on the back side of the tire, the directions are going to say to remove 4 T25 Torx head bit screws. I have only found 3. So we'll remove these on each side of the vehicle. We're going to take a 10mm socket on the bottom. We're going to have a plastic nut here, plastic nut here. Remove both of those. Now what I recommend doing before you start taking the fascia off is tape the 2 lines between your fascia and your fender. You can see how I have this one done. Driver's side, we're going to do it just a little bit different. Driver's side, we're going to tape the 2 edges, but we're going to tape this whole side of this panel because when we take the fascia off, we're going to have it, it's going to be wired, and we cannot disconnect the wiring. So we're going to have to take the fascia and flip it on its face onto a table or something like that. And if these 2 edges meet, I don't want to scratch this up here. As I mentioned before, there were 3 screws that are holding our wheel well liner in place. The directions say there's 4 holding the wheel well liner in place. There is a 4 screw, but it actually doesn't hold the wheel well liner in. It's actually straight up here, and it holds your fascia to your fender. So push your wheel well liner back. We're going to take that same T25 and we're going to remove that screw on each side. Then we're going to come to each corner, grab an extra set of hands. We're going to slowly start to pull out. If for some reason, there's little clips in here, if they don't disconnect, you take a pry tool and you can expose the very edge. You can take the plastic pry tool and poke it down in there to release the clip. Then we're going to slide this straight back. The nut that we took off on the inside, the threads could get caught on that hole a little bit. So don't just yank it out. this wiring right here is a wiring that we cannot disconnect. We can't unplug anything. So because we have so little bit of room, what I'm going to do is the zip ties that are on here, I'm going to cut the zip tie because we can add zip ties on later to give us more room that we can take this and set it to the side a little bit. .5/8 socket, we're going to remove the 3 bolts on each side of our bumper beam. Might be easier if you're using an impact, a smaller impact. Use a socket wrench first to get these loose. What I also suggest is, I don't know if the bumper beam, once you take all these out, if it has a little clip that holds it in place. I suggest loosening it up and then hand thread it in just a little bit while you take off the other side. That way it just doesn't fall down. Next, we're going to take a 16mm socket on the inside of the vehicle where this pin is on our passenger side. We're going to remove the nut. Right underneath this corner of your carpet is the nut. Now we can come back, remove the 2 bolts that we hand threaded in the corners, and set our bumper beam aside for now. Now we're going to take our new hitch crossbar, we're going to slide it in just like that. We're going to hold it in place, and you might get an extra set of hands to help you out. We're going to take our bumper beam, we're going to install it right over the top. Reinstall the nut on the inside to help hold it in place. Then we're going to take a hex bolt, comes in your kit. We're going to put a flat lock washer on it first, and then a flat washer, and there's going to go in place of our factory bolts. Once you have your bumper beam installed, you have all 6 bolts in place. Go ahead and tighten the inside nut down. Take a 17mm socket. We're going to come back. We're going to torque or tighten and torque the 6 bolts here on the outside. The specifications for that are going to be listed in the instructions. Next, we're going to have to mark out our fascia to trim it. If you have the hands-free liftgate wire, pull this out. And we're going to leave it lay like that for now. I'm going to go ahead and get it marked out, and I'll show you how we're going to be cutting it. Tape is my friend when I'm doing this. One, because it's easier to mark on the outside than on the inside, and then watch how you're cutting. That way, if you're marking on the tape and you mess up, you can just pull the tape off and you don't have a bunch of marks on the panel itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over 3 1/4 inches, put a mark. On this side, from this corner, we're going to go over 1 inch and put a mark. There should be a total of 11.5 inches between these 2. From here, we're going to go down 3.5 inches and put a mark. Same thing on this side. And then we're just going to meet those 2 lines. And this is going to be our cutout. Another thing to keep in mind before you start cutting, always look at it and make sure it's in the right place. If you'll notice how these are, you have 2 right here in the center. This outside line and this line will come right on that line where that piece is. And this is where you're going to take your mark across the 2 bottoms. So these are not coming straight down, they're coming at an angle right following this, but right here. I'm going to use a rotary tool with a cutting blade. Really, a cutting tool is going to work the best for cutting this out. Utility knife, this is going to be too thick. Again, make sure your cable, if you have one, is out of the way. so you don't cut it. Now you can do this a couple different ways. The little burrs that are on here, a lot of them you can break off, but we're going to clean up that edge a little bit better. You can use a file. What I find works good is a utility knife. Make sure it has a sharp blade in it. We're just going to run it down that edge. Now we need to relocate our hands-free liftgate wire. The kit's going to get some tie downs that look like this. They're going to have sticky tape on the back side. We're going to put one here, two in the middle, one here, and one here. Make sure you clean this off because this is pretty dusty. Use some rubbing alcohol. I'm going to go ahead and start here in the middle. I'm not going to put my last one on just yet. Take your zip ties that come in your kit. We're going to slide them through like that. We're not going to tighten them all the way down just yet. We'll take our wire. We're going to feed it through each one of these. And we'll start at the end with the plug. And we can start tightening down our zip ties. And we don't need to over tighten them. Just tight enough where they're going to hold the wire in place. Now we're going to install our block. We want the handle on the passenger side, lock on the driver's side. Bolt head is going to be on the passenger side because of the handle. I have a large nylon lock nut for each one. .15/16 socket and a wrench. We'll come back and tighten each one of those. Then we're going to come back and we're going to torque each one of our bolts to the specifications in the instructions. Once you have those torqued down, you can reinstall your fascia in reverse order from the way you took it off. Now a little trick I learned, once you get your fascia back on, to get the nut back inside there, if you go to try to put it on with your finger, you have a chance of dropping it down in there, and then you have to have a magnet to try to get it out. Take a piece of paper towel, put it over your socket, push the nut down on there, and it won't come off. If you're worried about the little piece of paper towel staying in there, it's probably going to be behind the nut when you tighten it down. Take a pair of needle nose, stick them right in the hole, and just pull the paper towel out. Once you've got everything back in place, pull this cap off the bottom. Your keys will be inside. Pull the cap off of your lock. Slide your receiver in place, lock it down, put your cap back on, and you're ready to go. It's going to do it for a look at installation on the Stealth rack receiver on 2018 Audi S5.